Prosecutors are looking for possible negligence in a recent train derailment. Same-sex couples from across the Taiwan Strait take their fight for marriage equality to the courts.
非常热，我觉得我的妆都快融掉了。
Scorching heat roasts the south of Taiwan as the mercury approaches 40 degrees Celsius. Plus,
we're here at a popular new exhibition in Taipei, where the works offer more than meets the eye.
A warm welcome to Taiwan Plus News. I'm Liao. Prosecutors are investigating a partial train derailment that left several people injured last week. The state-run rail company says it was following procedure at the time of the accident, but a whistleblower says it could have been prevented. John Van Trieste reports.
A swollen river in eastern Taiwan overflows, causing a rock slide onto these railroad tracks. The state-run rail company's own CCTV camera caught this footage last Friday. But a whistleblower inside the company says no one seems to have been monitoring the feed. 19 minutes later, an oncoming train crashed into the rocks on the track, derailing and injuring several passengers.
发生土石流到出了事故，总共足足有接近20分钟的时间。监控系统的观看人员，他是专职人员。那这20分钟到底人在哪里？
The Taiwan Railway Corporation says the CCTV camera that caught the footage isn't there to watch for landslides, and that staff only monitor it in certain situations.
我们这个画面是辅助我们看水情，就是说这个地方可以看得到大清水溪的水流状况。那我们的雨情系统，气象署有设置一个雨情系统，也没有达到预警值，所以说就。 是按照现行的 SOP 是不需要去调阅。
But prosecutors are launching a probe into whether the rail company was negligent.
我们还是会依照台铁公司相关的作业程序，以了解该人员有没有应该尽到的这个确认以及监控的责任，然后并且厘清他是否因此疏失而造成相关的意外伤亡。
But landslides are common in eastern Taiwan, whether from flooding like last week or from earthquakes like the magnitude 7.2 tremor in April. As prosecutors look into last Friday's accident, the hope is that their findings will change policies and help prevent similar accidents from happening in the future. Eason Chen and John Van Trieste for Taiwan Plus.
Taiwan is still working toward full marriage equality as same-sex couples from opposite sides of the strait continue to fight for recognition. Reese Ayers went to a court in Taipei where one couple's case is being heard.
The fight for full marriage equality in Taiwan continues. Here at this court in Taipei, same-sex couple Ryan and Rai are taking their case to the next level after being denied the right to marry due to Rai's Chinese nationality.
就希望我们能够跟所有的台湾人一样呢，可以拥有真正平等的结婚的权利。
要求平等结婚，
要求平等结婚。
It's one of the remaining holes in Taiwan's legal systems for same-sex couples. Despite the landmark ruling legalizing same-sex marriage in 2019 and another affording most foreign citizens the same rights in 2023, couples involving Chinese nationals are still unable to marry, mostly due to bureaucracy.
Actually, the situation is quite ridiculous. So it's totally administrative barrier. And I think this is kind of a problem of political will. Yeah, actually, we've got everything to get a permission for the reunion.
Now this couple's appeal is being discussed at one of the highest courts in Taiwan. Results are expected in about a month's time. And with a strong legal case and support from several rights groups, there's a sense of confidence in the air.
I think the result, should be positive.
It's one of two such cases going through the courts this summer. Jim Law and his Chinese partner will also have their case heard, which Law hopes will bring an end to a long and frustrating journey.
别人结婚只要去户政事务所就好，那我们结婚是要来到法院，然后是要 打诉讼，然后是要等待下一个开庭日期是什么时候，然后并且要面对不确定，或者是就是有可能这个最后的结果是不一定是如我们所愿的，所以就是会很忐忑，然后会很紧张，然后也会很难过。
And if either case is successful, they'll become the first cross-strait same-sex couple to marry in Taiwan, potentially setting a new precedent for others like them in the future. Liao and Ri says in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's defense minister says China's Coast Guard is regularly entering restricted waters around the outlying islands of Jinmen. Wellington Gu told lawmakers that China is attempting to establish a new normal by ignoring banned and restricted waters in the area. Jinmen lies closer to the Chinese coast than the Taiwanese mainland, but is controlled by Taiwan. On Tuesday, 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels were spotted near Jinmen. The Coast Guard sent patrol boats to monitor them, but Gu says Chinese naval ships would be dealt with differently.
如果有军用的舰艇进入禁制水域，我们就一定会负责，来将这个越界进入我禁制水域，来依照这个土化状况处置规定来加以处理。
2 former university administrators and an ex-government official are heading to jail for their role in exploiting students from Uganda. The students were lured to Taiwan in 2019 with promises of scholarships and work experience, but they were instead forced to work long hours in factories to repay their school fees in central Taiwan. The court overseeing the case says the defendants engaged in exploitation and trafficking. The sentences range from 2 to 7 years and come with fines. More extreme heat in Taiwan, with temperatures soaring to the upper 30s, causing hundreds to fall ill. With scorching conditions continuing, heat warnings remain in place around the country. Tiffany Wong reports.
Protecting themselves from the sun however they can. People in Taiwan are trying to stay cool as the heat across the country hits severe levels.
非常热，我觉得我的妆都快融掉了。
现在应该避免出门，如果出门的话，小心中暑吧，要防晒。
In the southern city of Kaohsiung, the mercury peaked at 39.8 degrees Celsius, just 0.4 degrees shy of the country's all-time high. Weather authorities say a high-pressure front is expected to cause more extreme temperatures and storms during the week.
This is the Central Weather Administration, where they've been monitoring record temperatures throughout the month. And over the past few days, the heat index has reached dangerous levels, exceeding over 40 degrees Celsius.
The high temperatures have resulted in an influx of people at Taiwan's hospitals. According to the health ministry, at least 515 people have sought treatment for heat-related illnesses in the past month.
很热的地方或者太阳直照的地方工作了1-2个小时，觉得身体有一些燥热，那发现说汗水越来越少，还有口渴的现象，可能就要到阴凉的地方休息一下。
To avoid heat stroke, health authorities suggest people avoid going out between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., wear light, breathable clothing, use sunscreen, and drink plenty of water. While the days might be hot, scattered thunderstorms are also in the forecast, giving a glimpse of a long, humid summer ahead. Alex Chen, Kama Shi, and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A new art exhibit in Taipei is bringing people out in droves. The main draw is a miniature version of vintage Taiwanese streets. It's showing the challenges of making art in the big city. Chris Gorin has more.
A few quiet moments, captured in miniature. This 1:12 scale model of Taiwan streets has become the centerpiece of a new exhibition showcasing the work of multimedia artist and filmmaker Zhang Liren.
这个城市里面，它其实它不是一个就是说任何一个地方的一个缩影，而是根据我小时候的一些记忆，不同的地方成长的一些记忆，去把这些对这些地方的印象，把它拼凑起来，变成一个记忆中的城市这样子。
The work, called Battle City Finale, took 14 years to complete, and explores what Zhang calls survival in the city, as reflected in his comic books and his action-packed animated films, shot using more than 100 papier-mâché characters. The work not only allows him to tell stories, but also to hang on to memories in a fast-moving world.
就因为我们现在其实大概可以感觉到是在一个 比较开始进入一个比较快速发展的一个阶段，所以说在很多东西它会在我们还来不及记得的时候就消失了。
And Zhang's sense of nostalgia is striking a chord with viewers.
所以其实在拍照的时候，从镜头上看过去，或是其实用眼睛去看的话，你都会觉得这是一个小时候的回忆。对，所以这还蛮怀念的。
就很多小时候的回忆，像幼儿园的娃娃车，就黄色的那个，就我们小时候真的都坐过。
The attention to detail and vintage vibe has seen the exhibition explode on social media, and that's put strain on the small Museum of National Taipei University of Education. Foot traffic for Zhang's exhibition is 5 to 10 times higher than the museum's usual, and to cope, it's had to increase staffing and implement an online reservation system. Despite its popularity, housing Zhang's work is a challenge. He had to relocate 6 times while completing it, and every move or exhibition causes damage to the model city.
主要是因为我自己没有地方去收纳这些东西了，所以说在这个展览结束之后，那如果它这个模型还没有一些其他的地方去的话，它可能就是要会清运掉还是怎样。
But those in the art world are determined to preserve Zhang's work.
因为这艺术家张立人的作品，其实大家都可以看得到，这个作品是多么的特别，而且是无论是在各个层面的意义上，其实都对于台湾的整个当代艺术的发展上面，应该可以是留有一个艺术史上的一个位置啊。
The museum says it's reaching out to several venues interested in permanently housing Zhang's work. They're optimistic, but the search continues. Whether on the screen or in person, this little city leaves a big impression. It's now up to those who find value in these kinds of unique artworks to make sure it stands the test of time. Kamashu and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Stick with us here on TaiwanPlus News, because coming up after the break, we cross blades with the independent athlete hoping to slice his way to gold at the Paris Olympics.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
For the biggest stories in tech, business, and more, be sure to follow TaiwanPlus on social media.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Calm has returned to the streets of Bolivia just hours after an apparent coup attempt. Harel Hughes tells us what's happened.
A dramatic scene in front of Bolivia's presidential palace in La Paz. An armored truck rams the doors and soldiers flood the building during an apparent coup attempt led by military general Juan Jose Zuniga. Minutes later, a tense standoff as Bolivian President Luis Arce confronts the general in the hallway. Tensions in the landlocked country of nearly 12 million people have been building for months, fueled by an economic crisis and a political rift. Earlier in the day, President Arce and former President Evo Morales posted on social media about irregular military movements and warned of an attempted coup. And a video posted by Minister of the Presidency, Maria Nelia Prada, showed the military in front of government buildings.
Y como podemos ver, aquí está la Plaza Murillo, tomada por tanques militares y por tropas militares. Entendemos que es de una facción justamente del ejército que se ha movilizado, que ha sacado a las...
People began to gather in the streets, erecting barricades and confronting soldiers. The standoff lasted only a few hours. Soldiers withdrew after Arce announced new heads of the military, and he addressed his supporters in the streets.
Muchas gracias por su presencia. Nos llena de más valor, de más coraje para seguir resistiendo cualquier intentona golpista, porque Bolivia merece su democracia que se ha ganado en las calles y con sangre, hermanos.
Hours later, General Zuniga was arrested. He denies staging a coup.
En el colegio La Salle me reuní con el presidente. ¿Ya? Y el presidente me dijo que la situación... ¿Ya? El presidente me dijo que la situación está muy jodida, esta semana va a ser crítica, esta semana. Entonces es necesario preparar algo para levantar mi popularidad. Entonces me dice, y le pregunto, ¿sacamos los blindados? Saca.
As calm returned to the streets of La Paz, leaders across Latin America and the world reaffirmed their support for Arce and democracy, echoing the sentiments of jubilant Bolivians. Delphine Chen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
North Korea says it has successfully tested a multi-warhead missile that will bolster the country's arsenal. North Korean state media said the launch tested the separation and individual control of the missile's 3 warheads. South Korea says the reports coming out of the north are likely, quote, exaggeration and deception. Pyongyang's announcement comes just 1 day after Seoul reported a North Korean missile exploding in mid-air after launch. At least 20 people have died in Nepal as heavy rainfall batters the country. Storms triggered landslides and flash flooding that killed 11 people. Another 9 died from lightning strikes. Reports of homes being swept away and heavy flooding are coming in from around the country. Nepal sees hundreds of deaths each year from extreme weather in monsoon season from mid-June through mid-September. India and China may not be on the best of terms politically, but their shared cultural history endures. Sally Jensen traces one family's unique story from India's oldest Chinatown.
For 75-year-old beautician Liao Lingying, worshipping both Buddhist and Hindu deities is a daily ritual. Born and raised in Kolkata, her upbringing immersed her in Indian and Chinese cultures.
没有读过书啊，没有读过书，爸爸就很辛苦啊，就没有读过书。13岁的时候就做美人，啊，爸爸也很辛苦嘛，啊，没有人看他。
Liu's father was one of thousands of Chinese emigres to this port city in western India, a migration that began in the late 18th century and at its peak reached some 70,000. It created a close-knit community that contributed to social and economic life. Here in Kolkata is Tiretta Bazaar, India's oldest Chinatown. The architecture, handicrafts and cuisine embody a cultural pluralism built here over the last 2 centuries. But now modern development is threatening this relic of the Indian-Chinese connection. In recent decades, many residents of Chinese descent have moved out, taking much of the bazaar's Chinese identity with them. Moving in, chain stores and construction projects. In 2022, the non-profit World Monuments Fund declared the area a heritage site in need of urgent preservation. But for Hoi Hua Wu, who has been a caretaker at this local temple for almost 50 years, changes to the community are inevitable.
जो बचा है अभी ये है हेरिटेज में हेरिटेज हो गया है अब ये अब 15-20 साल तक हम लोग रहेगा उसके बाद में क्या होएगा ये तो कोई रहेगा नहीं.
But Liao is among a few dozen who have stayed, and she has no plans of leaving. Her family has grown, and her eldest son has married a Muslim Indian woman.
When they come, we party, we enjoy ourselves. Like, they know everything about me, like, you know, me being from an outcast even, but they've never shunned me in any way. They have always put me up there. Like, even my mother-in-law, they've always put me up there.
While the Liao family may celebrate their multicultural identity, Outside their home, what remains of their heritage is crumbling, a challenging reality that people here know they have to learn to embrace. John Su, Suvan Pao, and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's top athletes are preparing for the Paris Games. Our reporter Sandy Chi went to meet Taiwan's top fencer Chen Yitong to see how he's training for Olympic success.
Ready? Ollie.
Every second, every move can make a huge difference in a fencing match. That's what keeps 20-year-old fencer Chen Yitong focused and determined. He's one of the athletes representing Taiwan at this year's Paris Olympics.
As soon as I put on my mask and I start moving, I just felt like this sense of calmness, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing. So I think fencing does make me calm when I'm on the piste. When I'm fencing, I just unconsciously start getting super focused on my target.
Fencing is one of the oldest combat sports. It's also known as physical chess, as each move requires close observation of the opponent's skills and personality. It may seem simple, just moving back and forth on the narrow piste or match area, but it's more than it appears. Each move the fencer makes is a calculated risk.
简单的里面当中又存在的困难的部分，它是要进攻还是防守？每一个铺陈的过程当中，其实它的变化性会非常的错综复杂，所以他们其实要非常的专注去判断当下到底是不是他预想的这样子，然后立即在非常短的时间内去做任何的改变。
As a kid, Chen explored various sports, but only fencing held his attention.
One thing that I really love about sport is the exchange you have with your opponent, back and forth and exchanging blades. I think it's really exciting for me.
Chen is one of the athletes who will represent Taiwan at the Paris Olympics this summer. But unlike many other Olympians who are full-time athletes, Chen is also a graphic design student who balances his fencing career and his academic commitments. Despite it being hard to manage his time, the thought of giving up has never crossed his mind. And Chen even managed to turn the challenge into an advantage, allowing both his athletic and academic pursuits to complement each other.
I think what art helped me with fencing is, one way is it helped me relieve stress when I'm not on the piste, when I'm taking a break. It helps me cool myself off. Another thing art taught me is to be more patient. And in fencing, you can't really force your way because you're gonna end up just losing more points and you'll get fall more behind.
Chen also had to face the challenge of training alone, especially during the pandemic. He explains that fencing is not like swimming or running, where the athletes compete against themselves. It requires an opponent for effective training.
When you're trained by yourself without guidance, it's you don't know if this direction is right or wrong. No one's there to tell you oh, you're doing good, you're doing bad. You're just blindly putting effort in and hoping that you're improving. And yeah, plus it's there's no opponent, right? Since there's no one there, you can't really measure yourself.
Fortunately, Chen found a way to train himself by observing and analyzing videos of other fencers.
It makes it easier for me to if I want to copy someone's attack, I can I just watch it a few times and try to adapt to it.
With the help of his art, relentless practice, and passion, Chen has proven he has what it takes to be an independent athlete representing his country. With just a month to go before the Paris Summer Games, Chen is determined to stay focused. And when the moment comes to draw its blade, he'll do so with all his energy and passion. Howard Zhang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
A team of school children is heading out on a sailing expedition around Taiwan. With the help of their teachers and scientists along for the ride, they'll be studying the seas and cleaning up marine trash. John Van Trieste has the story.
For these kids from Ilan's Yueming Elementary School, an epic voyage is just over a week away. With their teachers and a team of 5 scientists, they're set to sail all the way around Taiwan in 2 sailboats, stopping at ports and offshore islands along the way. The journey will take them 28 days and see them travel 2,000 kilometers. There are some pre-departure jitters.
怕自己途中会呕吐等等的事情，但是我相信我绝对不会吐的，因为我以前搭船都没有吐过。
因为没有过这样的经验以及体验，会让我觉得很好奇，也会感觉很紧张。
But this is more than just an adventure. The scientists on board will lead the students in taking all sorts of measurements in the sea, from temperature and depth to salinity levels. They'll also be monitoring and hauling up marine garbage, observing microplastics on the ocean surface, and surveying the pH and oxygen levels of seawater.
然后呢，他们会携带价值250万的科学仪器，然后上我们的帆船，跟着小朋友一起航行。在过程中呢，会教导孩子们去观测洋流、波浪、海水的水质，还有湖菌的特性等等。
And this won't just be a learning experience for the young sailors. The plan is to visit 36 schools along the way and invite 500 kids and teachers aboard to help clear the waters around Taiwan of trash. On July 5th, the expedition begins. Klein Wong and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, come with us on another marine adventure with these divers turned conservationists recording the fish around the bleached coral reefs in the waters off Thailand. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.